everybody? Welcome to the Early Edge NFL Kickoff Show, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Will Brinson, Sia Nejad, Ken's Brooks, back after I feel like you haven't been here, Ken's.
I know. I was just thinking that. I'm like, guys, I feel like it's been a second. I did miss last Sunday. I went to the Taylor
and Danny Brasco, by the way.
I was like, yo, don't want to
shortchange. Yeah, don't want to shortchange. Yeah, Ken's was on assignment. I was actually on assignment last Monday. We were doing very important capital journalist work, capital J journalist work. Brad Bett says, Sia in fuego. Confirm, Sia on fire?
Yeah, 3-0 today. I told people to ladder Tillman, so that was one of the picks, but you might have laddered him and gotten even more money off of that. It's interesting. 3 out of the last 4 weeks, I've actually gone 3-0. So we're on a nice little run on the season. I've had some bad weeks thrown in there too, but it's been good at SportsLine. If you're following my picks and a lot of the other people's picks, you're making some money. So that's great.
If you're, I'm going to try and not be distracted. I have the dulcet tones of Jim Nantz and Tony Romo turned off, but I know Sia is also going to try. The Commanders are attempting to seal a win, about to punt. 12-7 game, fantastic. Not the kind of game we sort of wanted and expected from these two rookie quarterbacks. And by the way, I think it's unlikely because the Chiefs and Ravens are up next. But Bo Nix Rookie of the Year tickets, at least a little live, might be worth like if you got it at 16-1, you probably get them like 50-1 now. I don't think it'll win, but just worth saying. Bo Nix, awesome game against the Carolina Panthers, which everyone has. We have to talk about, however, the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Dallas Cowboys. San Francisco and Brock Purdy, a 5.5-point favorite on Sunday night at home. A total of 47.5. I believe last year, roughly around this time, the Niners hosted the Cowboys. I'm not making this up, right? Maybe it was even in Dallas. They played each other on a Monday night, and San Francisco took Dallas to the woodshed. Dallas in this game will be without, I don't want to call him a star running back, but like ipso facto starting running back Rico Dowdle, a surprise inactive after he showed up to the stadium, he told everybody he was sick, and as a result, is not going to play tonight. So Dalvin Cook, who got elevated, we'll discuss. I mean, I think it's one of those injuries where with these shows you don't want to get bogged down in the inactives, but I think this one really matters from a player prop perspective, right, Sia?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, what's so interesting is that I didn't expect Rico to have much success. I don't think anybody really did, even though he's the best running back on the team. Like, what do you do if you're the Cowboys? If you remember SportsLine, CeeDee Lamb is one of my picks, and we'll get to that later. I almost did his combo prop because I feel like, well, you kind of have to put CeeDee Lamb in the backfield here and there too, because are you really rolling out Ezekiel Elliott and Deuce Vaughn and who was it, Dalvin Cook? I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Hunter Lopke?
There you go. I forgot him.
I think that's a person. I think that's a real person.
So the long story short is, I think this affects the props mostly from a passing standpoint in terms of maybe you look to the receivers and the receiving yards, because I don't really see how the Cowboys do it on the ground.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I have Rico receiving yards as one of my favorite plays here. I know Proppy doesn't like to play running back receiving yards, something I personally love to do, and Dowdle ends up being one of them. So definitely is a shame to see him not out there tonight, but I agree with Sia. You look at that running back room, I'd want to throw the ball. I definitely would want to throw the ball if I'm Dak. So I think that's probably where you start to see these props go. Probably getting a little inflated now, so something we probably want to act on pretty soon.
Yeah, and the thing too, Danny, is that with those props, and again, we'll get to our actual props and the picks in a second, but you have a situation where with the Niners as big home favorites, with a stout running game in Jordan Mason and just an ability to create explosive plays and score quickly, even if the Cowboys say, hey, we don't have any running backs, we have to throw, or even if they say we'd like to try to run with Dalvin Cook, they may find themselves in a situation where they have to pass anyway.
They've had to do that often this season, and they have, Dak is going to be up against the third-ranked overall pass defense in the 49ers. So they're going to have to establish some sort of a run. It can't be completely non-existent. But again, they're going to have to beat San Francisco through the air. And conversely, the Dallas run defense has been called soft for weeks by the media now. You've seen them just be able to not stop a nosebleed on that side of the ball. So off the bye week after their largest home loss in franchise history, after Jerry Jones is cursing out radio reporters and media, just asking honest questions. They've had 2 weeks to sit around and hear everyone call them, all the names they have. So let's see how they respond. Can they stop Jordan Mason on the other side? It's pass attack versus good pass defense versus rush attack versus bad rush defense. So who wins out?
I'm not suggesting that we're not a popular show right now, but I think that the presence of football and the Bears are inside the Washington 20 already. Caleb Williams dealing may be suppressing the numbers this evening a bit. That's okay. Let's get to our picks. That's the reality of the second screen life. If you have live football on TV, and this game, for whatever reason, took forever. I mean, this usually we're maybe in the 2-minute warning at 7:15, but nevertheless. If you have questions about the game itself, if you have questions about player props, put them in the chat, smash the like button. I'm starting them. We'll ask them at the end of the player prop segment. Let's get to our actual picks. Danny, you have a pair of them on the side and the total.
Yeah, here we go. So first off, I'm going to allude to the total. I want to talk about that first. You guys know I'm betting 1 unit on a lot of primetime unders this season. In fact, almost every single one, save for a few discretionary passes when they're not listed on SportsLine. But at 48, after Deebo Samuel was announced in, I'm going to play the under here now that we have that number. Once you get above 45, every half point is crucial. So I like the 48 number a good deal. I mentioned Dallas defense called soft, right? I think they're going to play with some fight here. They have a lot to prove, and Mike McCarthy also 13-3-1 against the spread off a bye. So I feel like his team knows how to respond. He's got the ability to make that adjustment. I think you see that on the defensive side of the ball more than anything, right? We know CeeDee Lamb and the weapons this Dallas offense has. If they're doing well, those guys will be clicking. It's about if they can get stops on the other side. And I think they do get stops tonight. This 49ers offense is decimated. Deebo Samuel's in. That's miraculous. He had pneumonia this week. I mean, he played 4 snaps against the Kansas City Chiefs. He was hospitalized for 2 days of this week, and he was having fluid drained from his lungs. So I'll get to my play on him later on, but I don't know how much of an impact he'll truly have. He may defy what I just said. He's a superhuman toughness, but I'm not sure how featured Deebo will be in this offense. So now you take Brandon Ayuk away for the season. Jawan Jennings, such a crucial third down target, also out. Even Chris Conley banged up. So it's going to be Jordan Mason, George Kittle, also with a foot issue, going to play, and this offensive line. And I'm asking myself, is a good defense in Jordan Mason and an offensive line worth 5.5 points on the spread? And ultimately, I'm saying no. I think Dallas, it's the spot, right? The Rams on paper had no business beating the Vikings. We don't play football on paper. I think it's a good spot for the Cowboys off the bye week. And I'm going to play them +6 is the play. So I gave it out +4.5 on SportsLine. It moved to 5.5 when Deebo was announced in. That's not that significant to me personally. 5.5 is sort of a dead number. However, it gives you the opportunity to buy that half point up to 6. And at -118, we're at a crucial +6 there. Much different than +4.5. So I'm rolling with Dallas. I'm rolling with the under. And I'll get to my prop pick later on. But it's going to take some courage to bet these. We're betting on a big bounce back from the Cowboys.
Deebo's out there with a little boo-boo on his lungs. He's playing a little sick. It's like Ricky Pearsall got shot. He's out there. I'm with you, Jeff.
Yes. I was just going to say a very frustrating thing with the receiver room. I don't know how many books have props out on Ricky Pearsall, on Cowing, on, let's say, Ronnie Bell. And it's a little frustrating because, I like to come to the show with like ladder plays and like 6 or 7 leg, crazy same game parlays. It's kind of impossible to do it right now because you can only really play on the San Francisco side, the primetime players. I'd love to ladder Pearsall or even Cowing potentially.
I like Cowing here.
Yeah.
I was looking for Cowing here when I was looking for replacing my Rico Dowdle prop here. But
a lot of books aren't listing it. And then maybe there's like 1 or 2 out there that are, but I mean, I'm looking at some and they're just not listed. So that's not great.
I think a lot of the books are sort of taking the approach now where it's like, look, we gave you the Golden Corral buffet on every single game. If the macaroni is a little undercooked and we don't know how it's going to go out there, we're just going to pull it and be like, sorry, there's no macaroni tonight. They don't know with these various, there's so much just up in the air with, when you lose a Rico Dowdle, when you have certain, sorry, my son texted me. I was panicked. He was in the chat. When you have the inconsistencies with the 49ers receivers and the injuries, they don't know how it's going to go, and they're sort of willing to just pull the plug on those, which is a little frustrating. But it's like a throwback to when if somebody got hurt, they're like, all right, you can have a CeeDee Lamb over under, and that's it. Back in the day. So
It's like the old proverb. They say the biggest advantage that us bettors have over the books is that we don't have to bet every game. They do.
Right.
In these scenarios, like
speak for yourself, Danny.
Right. I mean, yeah, you can't keep Brinson away from a parlay, but like Sia's saying, they don't know how to handicap it. You'll see this in the NFL draft a lot, where insider information is tossed around. They just pull draft props off the board because they don't know how to handicap against it. So looks like Sia might have been onto them. We're not going to get the opportunity to crack them on Trent Cowling prop.
I saw somebody suggest a teaser, Dallas plus 11.5 and under 54.5. So here's my thing, and I'll go with my pick here. I'm on the Niners team total over 27.5 at plus 105. Mm-hmm. I think and I'm not saying that Danny can't be right here and the Cowboys can't cover, but if you're picking the paths to this game, to me it is really, really unlikely that the 49ers get blown out. Like if Dallas keeps it close and it's a high scoring game, great. The thing I worry about is if you're teasing the under and Dallas keeping it close, is it probably I don't think San Francisco's offense is going to fail here, even with the injuries, because Dallas's defense, which is missing Micah Parsons again this week, obviously is going to struggle. And I think this is San Francisco's 3-4, man. Like they were the favorite. They were the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl before the year. They're 3-4. They're dealing with a ton of injuries. This is I don't want to call it a must-win game because it's not a must-win game, but it's a pretty close to it. You better show up and be awesome on offense. They've had the Cowboys number in the playoffs in the regular season. Kyle Shanahan, I think, at least against Dan Quinn, has had a ton of success offensively, and I think this Mike Zimmer defense is worse than that. So I think the 49ers are going to get theirs and get to 28. The issue I would have with the teaser is you're if you want to bet Cowboys plus 5.5, knock yourself out. I'm not saying it won't happen, but I think there is definitely a chance that the Cowboys just get their teeth kicked in and the 49ers sit on the ball, run it a ton in the second half, and Dallas becomes one-dimensional. They lock in on CeeDee Lamb and say, all right, go beat us with Jake Ferguson and Jalen Tolbert and Jalen Brooks. And that's just – we've seen these games from Dallas. They need to win too. They're 3-3. It's not a great spot. But I think the Niners are going to get theirs tonight. They'll do it against a bad defense and get to 28 points. So I'm pretty comfortable with that, especially at plus money. Kids, do we have a model play on the game? Oh, of course we do. What am I talking about?
Yeah, so I actually agree with you. I think my favorite play would be more so to lean towards the over. This Dallas plus 4.5 obviously was before we saw that line change to 5.5. But still, I mean, nothing crazy on the spread wise. I do like both teams to slightly go over their team total, which alludes to the over overall, like you mentioned. For the Niners, they've also allowed the Niners defense have allowed their opponents to go over their team total in 5 of their last 6 games. And for the love of God, if Dallas after this bye week can't figure out how to, play offense, I don't know when else there is a time to back them than this game. So I do think we'll see a lot through the air, obviously with the running back room that we're dealing with as well. And again, just for the Niners, I agree. This does feel like a must-win game for them. This is a huge game, and I think they're certainly going to play 4 quarters of football regardless of what happens. So I would lean over. I hate to squash on our guy Danny over there, not an official play, but if I had to pick, it would certainly be the over.
So I don't know if you guys know, but I disappeared for a brief second there. That was really weird. Thanks for filibustering. If you didn't notice, I don't know why I'm telling you. But Sia, do you have a play on the side? My mic cut off. I was like, my camera went out. It was very bizarre. Sia, do you have a play on the side of the total or lean? Either which way?
No play on the side of the total. I mean, a few too many unknowns. I will say this line is starting to move in a direction where I probably would like Dallas. The problem is, and the reason I would never tease the Dallas Cowboys is because when it gets away from the Dallas Cowboys, it really gets away from the Dallas. That's like teasing like an old school Big
Jets,
12
or Aaron Rodgers,
game.
Aaron Rodgers, where he's packs it in.
Well, the whole team though, when the defense is missing, you're just kind of finished. So I wouldn't tease the Cowboys. I would probably lean to taking the Cowboys, maybe a backdoor cover scenario. But honestly, I would lean to the under, but I'm not playing either. This is why I'm playing props. This is why I've been really good on props this entire season, because sometimes I just got to back off. I don't really know where to go on this one.
All right.
Brinson, I wanted to mention just one thing real quick about a teaser. Typically, when you tease guys, you want to be going through key numbers and spreads. If you want to tease a plus 2.5 to a plus 8.5, you've gotten through 3, you've gotten through 6, you've gotten through 7. That's an ideal spot. 5.5 to 11.5. the reason you're paying minus 120 usually to put two teams together and manipulate the spread is so that every point you move is crucially valuable. And those are not so valuable points. I also would caution against teasing totals. Totals are much more variant than spreads. So if you gain an advantage by moving the spread 6 points, not as much of an advantage by moving the total 6 points, which can go way under or way over. We know how totals go. So that would be my advice regarding teasers.
Yeah, I would just play if you want to tease. Instead of teasing the Cowboys in the under, I would just take the straight up under, because I think you're a lot like in the blowout scenario with San Francisco, you could still win the under, but you're just not likely to. You might not need the teaser leg is the point. Okay, let's get to our. Inactives. Sorry. Harry, there we go. Micah Parsons, as we mentioned, out for the Cowboys. Trey Lance is the emergency third quarterback. Rico Dowdle out. And then for the 49ers, notably, of course, Jake Moody still out. Juwan Jennings out. Rock Sin out. And then Josh Dobbs, because everyone was questioning whether Josh Dobbs would play or not. Okay. Let's get to our player props. Sia, you were going. I don't want to call it meat and potatoes. I mean, I like it. It's good. Look, you get on the tee box and you pipe a drive. It doesn't need to be 330 yards to the right in the woods when it can just be 295 right down the middle, right?
Yeah, I mean, I almost hesitate to, I always hate being on, the most high-profile guy in the game. And it truly is CeeDee Lamb. But I think the 74.5 receiving yard number is too low. I honestly think the combo prop of 81.5 is playable here because I could see him on an end around or just literally just like a normal run where he gets 2 or 3 carries. He's had 3 1-and-1 carries over the last 3 weeks. But more importantly, he's had 10-plus targets on average over the last 3 weeks. And if you're Dallas, I don't know what you do if not target CeeDee Lamb at least 13 to 15 times. I love what he does around the formation. They line up in the slot. He lines up in the slot. He lines up outside. He does a lot of different things. You're coming off a bye. You had to have schemed up everything possible for CeeDee Lamb because he's your only path to winning or staying close in this game. Give me CeeDee Lamb over 74.5 receiving yards. I honestly think, listen, you never know with the Cowboys, but I would have been afraid of this line if it was 81.5. I would have been I'm not really 100% sure about that. But that's telling you something because I really think that's probably where the line should be. I'm talking his receiving yard line. So give me the over 74.5 receiving yards.
Did something insane just happen in the – oh, my God.
Tell me. I'm on delay.
Noah Brown bomb for a walk-off win with 2 seconds left.
Hold on. I'm watching the delay, and I'm seeing Jaden Daniels. He's about to throw the ball. This is caught. It's a real catch.
52
That's your offensive rookie of the year. That's
my boy Noah Brown. Let's go. Yeah,
Jaden Daniels was speaking of the Cowboys. That was Noah Brown.
Yeah. No. By the way, ignore anything I said.
I just saw it. Oh my gosh.
Ignore anything.
He was wide
Ignore
open.
anything I said about Bo Nix bets. By the way, that's over. It's done. Jaden Daniels, lock it up.
I was everyone check on your Bears fans. This is terrible.
They were Bears Nation called game too. By the way, I have nothing.
Everyone in the chat should go tweet at Tom Fornelli and don't tell him I sent you, but just say sucks to suck. Right? Just go tweet Fornelli.
He was already down so bad. Hit the like button for the Commanders or for Hail Marys. That is amazing. Wow. Cap's a great guy. Let's go. How good does it feel as a Commanders fan to know you have a guy? I mean, I'm worried about that rib cartilage injury, but we got away with one here. So I love Noah Brown too. This is amazing. I do too. I'm a big Noah Brown fan. Oh yeah. That's good for my best ball teams. Okay. Anyway, back to the player props. Look, sometimes something like that. I mean, I'm distracted by a squirrel, dude. If there's a walk off Hail Mary of 52 yards, it's going to completely derail me. Danny, your player prop for this evening.
Yeah, so one thing I actually wanted to bolster the case for my under as well, just in case people are scared about this one, which rightfully so, you should be. 2 NFC powerhouse teams, but they actually are both bottom 10 in red zone efficiency. The Cowboys are second worst in the league at punching it in once they get inside the 20-yard line. And San Francisco's 6th, so very curious there. So I think we could see some suppressed scoring and some field goals because of that. Remember, special teams also an issue for San Francisco too. They're down to their 3rd kicker. I think Anders Carlson is kicking for them. Huge special teams advantage. Aubrey versus Carlson, but that's old points I made about Cowboys and the under. I'm taking the under on CeeDee Lamb receiving yards. This one you're going to have to hold your breath for, and quite literally, because you may have a fluid-filled sac in your lungs from pneumonia, unable to breathe. I feel like
you mean Deebo Samuel, not CeeDee Lamb, right?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I said CeeDee Lamb.
No, it's fine. I just didn't know if you wanted a straight up showdown with Sia here.
No. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Deebo Samuel. I'm sure we'll throw it up on the screen too, so we can be sure. But I would never fade Sia after he catched that Cedric Tillman ladder. Are you kidding me? No, I like Deebo with the pneumonia concerns because look, he could bust this and make me look really stupid in 2 plays with 56.5 yards. I just feel like if he's in game shape already, we're going to be looking at another Puka Nacua situation. That already happened once this week, right? The guy goes out there on a gimp leg and puts up 100+ yards. Deebo's probably going to be doing wind sprints out there, maybe playing more of a decoy, getting back into game shape. If he's not, and he's heavily targeted, I mean, he's insane, and the Niners are also insane because they can't run their last key offensive piece into the ground. I know it feels like a must-win Week 8 game, but this NFC West race is tight. I mean, the Seahawks just lost. Like, everyone is 3-4 or 4-4. They don't have to win this game, and they don't have to spend Deebo for it. Mm-hmm. I think they should play more conservatively with him. I think you're more likely, like Sia said, to see CeeDee Lamb in the backfield than Deebo in the backfield lining up in the tailback spot. So I'm going to go under 56.5 receiving yards and hope that they look for other options. If he burns me on 2 plays, so be it. I'll be willing to live with that. But Deebo off pneumonia, I got to fade it.
Hey, one quick follow-up, and Danny said something that I think is really important about red zone efficiency. I don't think that red zone inefficiency is going away. San Francisco, they're down some weapons. That's not going to help. Then on the Dallas side, they're down like any solid running back. That's not going to help for them either. That tells me that the under is probably the play in this game. And again, it's not an official play for me, and I know other people like the over, but that red zone inefficiency, like that could very well be the difference in terms of the total here. So I'm just kind of emphasizing what Danny might have already said earlier, kind of like the under here.
Yeah, and I think with Deebo too, you can kind of get to a point where if it's a blowout, if they have a big lead, if they're running the football, they're probably not going to necessarily, I was trying to tweet out a link so people can come jump in. You can see people getting off of that game and coming in here like rapidly. It's kind of funny. I think that, I think you could get to a situation where if San Francisco at any point has a 10 to 14 point lead, they're not going to like put Deebo in a position. Like they've already lost Brandon Ayuk, right? I mean, Kittle was banged up. Debo's banged up coming in. They've had CMC, of course. They're not going to put Deebo in a position where he's taking unnecessary hits in a game if it gets out of hand at all. So I think you have a nice out that way too, where, all right, you get a lead, force the Cowboys to be one-dimensional, pound Jordan Mason, and I think the guy you're throwing it to anyway, on National Tight End Day, this gets right to my props. The man who started National Tight End Day he got so mad about OL Masterminds and Von Miller's pass rush camp. He's like, why not us? Why not us? George Kittle started TEU, man. He was like, we need tight ends that band together to be one around the league. And you look at what tight ends have done today, it is ridiculous. We had 2 touchdowns from Kyle Pitts, 2 touchdowns from Kate Otten. Shout out to @Stoned Betting, who cashed a $14K ticket betting on that. Tyler Conklin caught a touchdown. David Njoku, Mark Andrews caught touchdowns. 2 Lions caught touchdowns. Tucker Kraft scored. Evan Ingram scored. Trey McBride at $124. And then, I think, there were a few more. Travis Kelce caught a touchdown. Adam Troutman went off against Carolina. Dalton Kincaid scored. Zach Ertz almost scored. Nevertheless, it ruined my a couple of those ruined. I think it was a Drake London touchdown away from a big parlay, but nevertheless, thanks, Coppets. George Kittle, anytime touchdown, plus 115. It's George Kittle day, and they're short of receivers. He's going to catch footballs. I also like George Kittle over 52.5 receiving yards, minus 120. Like Deebo, he was confirmed in. I think this is a George Kittle game. I've already put in my DFS lineups. Locked in Kittle as captain. He's sub 10% at captain. Give me George Kittle eating in one of those classic who saw 3 touchdowns from George Kittle coming games on primetime against a team that he's done very well against on National Tight Ends Day. Feed me the George Kittle love.
I couldn't agree more there.
Okay. Kins. Sorry, I don't know what to do when I get done with a rant sometimes. Kids, I was like, wait, somebody else is going to keep going? Kids, what do we have for the model in terms of props for tonight?
The official prop, although I will say I absolutely love that George Kittle play. I'm going to talk even more about him later when we get to the anytime touchdown props for the model. But as far as our other play, we like Jalen Tolbert. Over 35.5 receiving yards. We haven't projected for 47. This is really just a play on his usage without Brandon Cooks. When he's been out for most of the season, he's gone over this number in 4 of his last 5 games, and he's averaging around 55 receiving yards. So coming off that bye week, I know a lot of that was about CeeDee Lamb and them running their routes and that chemistry, but it also includes him too. And, the idea of just targeting CeeDee Lamb 10 plus times a game, that strategy doesn't necessarily work against this Niners defense that Danny was already talking about is pretty impressive against the pass. So I think it'll result in, a couple dirty glares from Lamb to Dak. But other than that, I don't know how productive it is to just be targeting CeeDee Lamb. So I do think Tolbert, I think it's just a low number based off the usage he's been getting the past 5 weeks.
Okay.
And
I dig it.
Let me add something because again, I'm still waiting for, and it's probably just not going to happen. I'm still waiting for Ricky Pearsall numbers, Cowing numbers, but we're not getting them. Okay. So, or at least we're not getting them in time for me to give them out on the show. So I do want to say Jalen Tolbert, I kind of agree with Ken's here that 35.5 is too low. And we know he's the type of guy that can sort of get lost and get behind the defense and hit for a 40+ yard reception. So this is not an official ladder play because, again, I don't have the full complement of receiver numbers here. I just can't really, in good conscience, give out a ladder play. But if you're looking at Tolbert, 50+ plus 175, 60+ plus 290, 70+ plus 450, I don't hate that, especially the 50 and 60+ numbers because, again, the path is probably through the pass. Even in garbage time, we could see Jalen Tolbert late fourth quarter. Maybe he only has 3 catches for 39 yards, but he gets 2 catches late in garbage time and gets over 60 or 70 yards. So I think all of that is in play. Jay Kane saying Pearsall is 41.5 at his book. Yep. I don't know if this is populating at a lot of the books. I do like the over for Pearsall, especially with Debo kind of being dinged with the pneumonia, and Kittle does have that foot issue. I think he's going to be a focal point too. But the third guy in line without Juwan Jennings, without Brandon Ayuk, it has to be Ricky Pearsall. So I think it's a good look over anything in the low 40s.
Taylor saying Pearsall is 40 at -130 at ESPN Bet. I will reserve any further commentary about that. Other than that, it's available at ESPN Bet.
We have him projected.
Boost. Sorry.
My commentary is that I can't stand books that make their normal lines -130. The VIG is just 30 cents now. You can't win long term like that. So you have to shop lines, and if you're going to play a -110, don't play it if they're offering you a -130. It's just a different bet.
Yeah.
It sounds like they may pop up, but as Sia mentioned, that's a good look. And look, on Tolbert, the other thing too is it's entirely possible that the 49ers say, if we can slow down this dummy run game that they don't really have, get some pressure on Dak, we're going to just shift 2 guys onto CeeDee Lamb on every play and make other guys beat us. Yes, Sia.
Yeah, so it's up at BetMGM right now. I looked at some of the other major books just in the last couple of minutes, didn't see it, but we've got 41.5. So good job for calling that out. But instead at BetMGM, it's -115, a much better play. So it's still not an official play for me, but I do like over 41.5, and I'm going to take a look at what the ladders look like, and I'll share that in a second.
I was really hoping that was going to be 38.5. That's just, I feel like he's going to have
here you go. Cody Zick says 35.5 at FanDuel. I'd jump on that.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty low.
Yep. Shout out Jonathan Hooker also mentioned it. Look, this is a case where, again, we go back to the point about how the books kind of struggle with these peripheral receivers, how to deal with them in fluid, inactive injury situations. And that's how you get 41.5 up at ESPN Bet and 35.5 at FanDuel. That's a pretty big window. Pearsall could cruise over that and go 80 easily. But if you're giving me a 6-yard window and you're probably getting decent, at -110 on both sides, I'll take that every time. If you obviously have you have to have the liquidity on the books to do the ARB work and all that. But that's 35.5 is a pretty good look. Okay, we have a bunch of questions in the chat, including this one from Wu-Tang Forever. I told you we get to it. Should I ride my 6-leg National Tight End Day touchdown? I just need George Kittle anytime touchdown to get $2,500 off a $5 bet. Wow. Awesome. Hell yeah, you ride it. Awesome. The guy started it. There's a beautiful way to do it. You end the day with Kittle. He might, in fact, I think you even double down and do George Kittle first touchdown scorer. And two, whatever the number they're offering you is not worth it. It's probably like $750, which is a nice payout of $5. But when you're talking about I would guess it's over 1,000. Either way, it's a nice payout, but you can still get almost double that. Like even the odds of like if you take $1,000 and risk it on like to me, I'm not cashing that out. No chance.
I'm just also looking like where you can bet no touchdown. Do they have over under half a touchdown? Can you hedge that even? Because actually I'm looking at George Kittle plus 120 on some books, which is kind of the lowest line that I've seen for an anytime so far. That's near even money. So like if there is a no available somewhere that you can hedge, if you want to, fine. But like it's national tight end day, baby.
Barring injury, George Kittle's finding the end zone tonight. I'm just telling you, it's just happening. Every other tight end got theirs today. You think George Kittle is going to not get his? The guy's going to run rampant tonight.
So here's my thought. It's plus 130 at BetMGM anytime touchdown. You could just bet the anytime touchdowns for Debo and Ricky Pearsall and just try to hit everything. Ricky Pearsall's plus 220, Debo's plus 125. I already said George Kittle's plus 130, but he doesn't need to play that one. Problem is Jordan Mason's minus 165, so like that's kind of tough. But you could just try to hit everything and make some money on the other touchdowns if George Kittle doesn't hit.
And you could still get Kittle home. Like Kittle could still get home. Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't unless you're getting some. I've seen enough cash outs where I can't imagine the cash out number is worth bailing on that. And plus, like you got the guy who started National Tight End Day to bring home the National Tight End Day parlay. You got to do it. I'm mad I don't have that. Arjun asked Tolbert over receiving yards 36.5. We covered that one. We like that. Tolbert could be a focal point here. That's where the Cowboys are at. Brock Purdy from Gippers, very loyal listener. I don't know what to call it. Always in the chat. Love Gippers. Brock Purdy over 236.5 passing yards is a lock. I think your only concern is a blowout, right?
Is it though? I mean, Gippers is my guy too. We chat MMA all the time. Actually, shout out to Gippers who's recovering from some hip surgery right now. So good thoughts in the chat for my guy Gippers. But his offense is gone. Like, are we forgetting that Ayuk and Jennings, Jawan Jennings should not be understated. Like that's so much target share right there. Christian McCaffrey remains out. Like I'm not so sure that this Niners offense is going to get back to humming like that. Purdy relies on those guys for a tremendous amount of usage. And if Debo isn't 100%, which I really don't think he is, I don't know if this Niners offense is going to look like everyone thinks it's going to look.
I totally agree with that. I think if you see the Cowboys come out really good offensively tonight, then I think you're looking at maybe the over there. But I could see this as kind of more a slow plotting game with Jordan Mason, at least on the San Francisco side. I mean, we'll see. You can kind of run on the Dallas Cowboys as we know. So I don't know that that's a lock, but I mean, fair enough.
All right. Somebody asked about thoughts on field goal props, and then somebody specifically asked Aubrey over 1.5 field goals again tonight. Kins. Or Brooks. I mean, people call me Brinson all the time. Why we call you Brooks? Look, I looked at Aubrey is like a fantasy monster. The guy gets like 15 points every week. It's ridiculous.
I think I cashed my last parlay, my Sunday parlay that I did, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, on the back of him. Look, I mean, primetime field goals have been hitting, primetime unders have been hitting, all basically one and the same. If you believe in the under, I think this is a great play as well. If you believe in this Cowboys defense not really being able to figure it out after a bye week, believe in that as well. I would never tell anybody not to take a field goal over that they've been thinking about on a primetime game. I'll leave it there.
All right, Kins, we'll go right back to you. A quarterback rushing question. 10.5 yards for Dak, plus 180.
Ooh, let me see what we have him. We don't have him. So it's going to be probably under 10. Yeah, we got him under 10. I mean, I love the gross running back or quarterback rushing props. This might be one of those, and I think it starts to happen this time in the season where quarterbacks are trying to prove their toughness here. And when things aren't really going their way in the season, they start to use their legs in moments that maybe they wouldn't have earlier in the season. So I plus 180, I do think that could be, one or two scrambles here that gets him. I do like that.
Man, he's only got he's got 3 games with 2 rushes this year. The rest are 1, and only 1 game he went over 10 at 12. So
maybe you want better than plus 180 on that.
I mean, no run game. There's no run game. There's no run game. It's on the QB then. Dak, take off. Like you need to.
No, that's totally true. And if you have to resort to the pass, I mean, the more dropbacks, the more potential you have to actually take off and run. And this really is going to feel like a must win for Dallas. So I love the plus 180 over at over 10.5 rush yards, I should say.
And I might have something else to say about this when we talk first TD scores.
I'd much rather do the over 10.5 plus 180 than just hit whatever his number is and hope that comes in, because you're getting that almost 2-1. If one long run and Dak is there. Thoughts on Mason from Ramo? Thoughts on Mason over 17.5 rushing attempts?
We got him 16.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And he still has that AC joint sprain. Like, if it gets aggravated at all, good night. Yeah. I mean, Isaac Guerrero might get a couple of more carries. Taylor might get a couple of more carries. 17.5 is high. 16 sounds right.
And they, again, like, I'm not saying the Niners are going to blow them out. I'm just pointing to what the spread is and what is a possible outcome. If it is a blowout, like if it's a shootout, you may lose some rushes here and there. And if it's a blowout for the Niners, I could see a lot of Guerrero. So that's a little thin, probably, I think. Jordan Mason, 10 rushing yards each quarter. Why does this seem plus 170? Why does it seem so easy? Again, he might not carry the ball a ton in the fourth quarter. I think that's the concern.
That's how they lose, Brinson, is they're a lot of the time they're super obvious, and then a player gets scripted out. I saw one where it was 2 QBs to have 10 plus pass yards in each quarter. 10 plus pass yards in each quarter. That's one check down, right? Easy work. And then all of a sudden the Broncos have a 30-3 lead over the Saints, and Bo Nix gets scripted out and passes for 4 yards. It's just game script dependent, right? You need a result to happen in every quarter. I think it could certainly happen, but it's dicey to bet on something happening in every single quarter.
So I would rather take Jordan Mason over 84.5 rush yards than Jordan Mason every quarter, I think. I just think it's more likely that he gets there. And then they I still think that's too much. That's not what I would take. But Mike M is asking about that number. It's just high. Like, he's been dealing with injuries. They're a really banged up team. I think if they get a big lead, they are going to just condense things and try to eat the clock. And Kyle Shanahan likes to do that anyway. So look, Mason could destroy this Cowboys defense. That is absolutely in the realm of possibility. But if you get a couple of long pass plays and, a couple of quick passing touchdowns, and suddenly they've got a lead, and you could just see it going a little sideways. We have CeeDee Lamb 70 plus receiving and Dak over 225 passing for plus money.
I like
correlated.
Yep.
Don't hate it.
Yep. Don't hate it. Mason 25 rush yards each half minus 155. Again, that's more likely, but the juice shows up for a reason. That's a lot to lay on Mason, who we've seen leave a game in recent weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, Ronnie Bet365 is Ronnie Bell receiving yards at 4.5. Okay.
He can't catch. That's the problem. He runs the wrong route all the time.
Yes.
So he might get it. Don't get me wrong. It's just going to take one catch, but he has really screwed up a lot of drives by running the wrong route, by not catching easy balls. That's why you're probably going to hear more from Cowing and guys like Ricky Pearsall. And for the record, not a lot of 11 personnel for the San Francisco 49ers. So you're going to see a lot of 2 wide receiver sets, which means Ronnie Bell's only going to be on the field for a little bit. That doesn't mean he's not going to catch a ball, though. I don't hate it, but I'm not betting that personally.
Good point.
Dalvin Cook over 34.5 rushing yards. This is kind of a coin flip, right? Are the Cowboys going to be running a bunch? I think Kareem Hunt is the aberration here in terms of old running back who shows up, is on practice squad for a few weeks, and then dominates. I would lean under on him as well. Mm-hmm. CeeDee Lamb 65 and Kittle over 45 plus 180. Sure, like that.
Mm-hmm. Has to be Kittle. Who else? Who else?
It's going to be Kittle. It's just going to be Kittle. I am barreling down Narrative Street at 400 miles an hour in a tight end jalopy right now. I mean, it's just over. Zeke Elliott under 28.5 rushing yards.
Low totals, running back by committee probably for a run game that hasn't existed. After Ken's talked about it, and it was asked in the chat too, I'm higher on Dak rushing props than any of these running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Yeah, 28.5 is really low, and he just lost the guy who gets most of the carries. So Zeke, and it's Dalvin Cook and Zeke. What an incredible fantasy team in 2008. It's just maybe 2015, but you get the point.
CeeDee Lamb in the chat, Brinson, over 2.5 rush attempts for Dak if we're thinking we like him, plus 135. Remember, sneaks and kneels count for rushes, so if the Cowboys kneel one before the half, they're winning. That would be awesome. Or Dak just decides to take off 2.5 plus 135. I like where Gippers is at with that.
Yeah, I like that rushing attempts prop better, I think, than the rushing yards. Just because look, I'm saying the Niners might roll, but I mean the Cowboys can easily win this game. Lamb over 6.5 receptions. You're not, if you want to bet, like, that's probably like more of a parlay piece for me than it would be necessarily like something I would want to hammer straight up. But Dak is, I mean, going to throw to CD Lamb plenty. Like, he's going to get, what would you say, like 12, 15 targets? I think 7 receptions is certainly.
I think 13 to 15 targets is in the realm of possibility. It's probably going to be closer to 10 to 11. I actually like this play. I like because a lot of them are going to be easy targets just to get that offense going. You might see CeeDee Lamb as almost an extension of the running game.
Yeah.
Early in the game, get everybody rolling, including Dak. So I could see him having 3 receptions like in the first quarter, and then who knows from there.
I like it.
Sia, you love a pass attempt play. Brock Purdy under 31.5. Yeah, I mean,
I like this play actually. Yep.
Yeah, I do too. Again, you feeding the narrative. Niners roll. Brock ain't throwing a ton. Gets his work done early and efficiently, and they feed the rock late. Jake Ferguson over 41.5 yards. You're not going to tell me no tight end on that National Tight End Day. I mean,
yeah, I bet on Njoku over 5.5 receptions, and he landed on 5, but he went over his receiving yards and he scored. So I'm done trying to figure it out. They're all fine in the end zone. Kittle TD, Ferguson TD plus 290. Say less.
That just reminded me, Jake Ferguson is dating one of the Cavender twins. If you guys know who they are, the Miami basketball twins.
Oh, yeah,
the other one's dating
I think I've heard of them. I don't know.
Is that like a Kardashian curse, or is that a boost?
Well, I don't know what it is. However, Carson Beck, who's dating the other one, showed up to our dinner table on Friday night right next door to me, Damian Harris, and Jordan Giorgio. We were out before our Saturday show.
There's at least one flex from Ken's every single, and they're good flexes. Like I'm just more jealous than anything. I just feel like I have to point it out.
Did you fangirl out, like Georgia fangirl out with Carson Beck?
Well, I had my Georgia sweatshirt on, like oddly of all times.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think the girl.
So it was a nice dinner restaurant. I see.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Let's see. A couple more. Somebody said Jake Ferguson over 44.5 receiving yards. I mean, shop around. Yeah. Like, don't take 44.5 when there's a 41.5 out there. And Bet365 has 200 passing yards for Dak and 200 passing yards for Purdy at even money. I'd be pretty hard pressed not to get them both there, but it's possible.
Yeah, it's
200. 200's low.
Yeah, not something I'm betting, but that's fine. I think Purdy could have. It depends on how Dallas does. It depends on how much Dallas pushes San Francisco. But we need to appreciate the fact that there are a lot of weapons that are missing. Now, I mean, by the way, Christian McCaffrey's still not playing, but Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, we're not sure how healthy he is. We're not 100% sure how healthy George Kittle is, and Brandon Ayuk is out. So that's a problem.
Wu-Tang Nation is riding George Kittle. I'm glad that we talked you into that. Okay, we're running late. That's all right. Oh, I have a parlay. Hey, it's National Tight End Day. We're going over George Kittle receiving yards. This is a BetMGM. Over Jake Ferguson receiving yards. Over George Kittle receptions made. Over Jake Ferguson receptions made, both 4.5. So you got the 39.5 receiving yards for Ferguson there at BetMGM. And then George Kittle, anytime touchdown. Jake Ferguson, anytime touchdown. Look, as I said, I just dropped it another gear. We're moving faster down Narrative Street, National Tight End Day. I think Ferguson wants to show off for his boy, and I think Kittle will get there. That's 17, almost 18-1 for that parlay. Like, it's not that inconceivable at all. All right. We've all had our first touchdown bet called back before, and BetMGM is giving you a second chance with BetMGM's Pro Football Second Chance. Place any first touchdown score bet, and if your player doesn't score first but scores second, get your entire stake back in cash. No opt-in required. Here's how it works. Place a pre-game straight first touchdown score bet in any NFL game. If your player scores the first touchdown of the game, win your wager is normal. If your player scores the second touchdown of the game, you'll get your stake back in cash. It's that simple. Log into BetMGM for more details. I regret to inform you that when we give out our first touchdown bets, you will not see any diamond hands because somehow the four of us remain diamondless on the season. It's been a very chalky season. We've had some close calls. That's okay. We'll give out anyway. I feel somebody's hitting tonight.
Yeah, I want to shout out Sia, who recently had a Tyler Conklin in a Jets game. He was the second TD scorer, so you get your money back on BetMGM. And then I'll shout myself out. I had Mark Andrews last week, who was the second TD scorer, of course, got my money back. But we're just one away. And of course, like Brinson mentioned, it's been chalk where the rules are we got to pick a plus 1,000 or longer. And it's Derrick Henrys of the world. It's the Joe Mixons of the world. It's the guys that can't stay out of the end zone. So we're going for big money. Let's get one tonight.
I think that George Kittle is going to score the first touchdown, but he
No,
doesn't
you
fall
don't
within
say.
No, well, but, right. But he doesn't follow the parameters of 10 to 1 or longer, which is the rules here. And since none of us have diamond hands, I go first. You know who does? Jake Ferguson, the tight end for the Cowboys, 15 to 1. I am not going to be talked off narrative street. You cannot slow my car down. I'm basically like a Georgia defensive player hurtling down narrative street at an ungodly fast rate. That was unnecessary. And I'm going to take Jake Ferguson for first touchdown. Danny, you referenced it earlier. You also have a Cowboys player, but it's a quarterback.
That's right. Cowboys 31st in red zone efficiency. It's just not working. Dak, go get it yourself. There's no run game. Dak, go get it yourself. Analysis end.
All right.
And
that.
Yeah.
Mr. Brock Purdy here. I have him at 20 to 1 to be the first one in the end zone. And I just think without McCaffrey, lose the ability to instantly score in the red zone. It might as well be him. He had, 2 rushing touchdowns in the game versus the Chiefs. Maybe he's feeling good, starting to use the legs. Passing game hasn't been phenomenal. He's been pretty good with the legs. So 20 to 1. I've been trying with the tight ends. It's not working out for me. The game script is always there, and then it just never happens. So I'm going quarterback.
I like the quarterback rushes here, especially with, again, we lose some of these secondary, tertiary players, and it really caught. What Jordan Mason anytime touchdowns minus 160, ridiculous. This was this prime CMC. Who you got, Sia?
I got Ricky Pearsall. I don't think I need to go through it too much. I think we're going to see him on the field. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to want to get him involved early for a lot of different reasons, including Kyle Shanahan wants to remind everybody how good of a coach and offensive coordinator he is. So I think Ricky Pearsall is going to be involved. As far as ladders, I know people are asking about it. Because things are coming out so late, I just don't think there's a good ladder play right now on Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah.
I know his over-under has gone down to 39.5 in some places. Again, I like it. Nothing I'm in love with, but I do think he is very viable for your first touchdown scorer. He'll be on the field.
I love it. Okay, let's recap our bets. We'll do that with this fancy graphic. I'm on the team total over for San Francisco, 27.5 plus money. Love it. George Kittle, anytime touchdown. George Kittle over 52.5 receiving yards. I'm nothing if not a sucker for a narrative. Sia's on CeeDee Lamb's over 74.5 receiving yards. Danny is on Cowboys plus 6, the under 48, and Deebo Samuel under 56.5 receiving yards. And Ken's the model slash the model has that the slash is doing some work there. Sorry, kids. Jalen Tolbert over 35.5 receiving yards. All right. Rolling from the incredible, really fun first set of games into just a wild ending for Bears Commanders. Happy for you, Sia. You got your guy. You take down Caleb Williams. Big win. 3-0, 4-0 if you count Jaden winning. And we're going to cash some bets tonight. More tight ends. Wu-Tang, I hope you hit that parlay, buddy. We're rooting for you. Obviously, I am because I got Kittle out the wazoo here. For Danny, for kids, for Sia, I'm Brinson. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys later.